Now we are for an interview with the nation's editor-in-chief Suthichai Yoon, who has recently gone to Myanmar and met with the Myanmar democracy icon Aung San Suu Kyi. And joining our program today is the nation editor-in-chief Khun Suthichai Yoon. สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
You have met with Aung San Suu Kyi and you interviewed her. What was your impression and between her in reality and between her in what we see out from outside Myanmar?
She's quite upbeat. She's quite hopeful, although she has some skepticism about whether the army is solidly behind this reform. But she says that she has trust in President Thein Sein, that President Thein Sein is sincere about the reform. But she says she's not too clear or absolutely clear whether the army is really behind it. So she cannot say that this reform is irreversible yet. But from all the questions posed to her and all the answers, I can see that she is taking things one step at a time. Her priority now is to win the by-elections on April the 1st, 48 seats for her NLD party. So I think that she is confident that if she can win the elections, the legitimacy of her role in parliament as a genuine opposition force would be quite significant.
But do you think that does she really have like a true quality of leadership?
I think so. I think she has gone through a lot and that she knows the game. She has talked to President Thein Sein, she has talked to government leaders, and I'm sure that there must be somewhere she has been able to sound out the army's reaction to all this. Although publicly, I think she continues to put pressure on the army by saying, you know, if you guys don't come out publicly, clearly about supporting the reform movement, I cannot guarantee for you. So I think she is saying all these things to make sure that the army is behind this reform and that General Thein Sein cannot go back on his promise.
Do you think it's a point of no return from Myanmar in terms of opening up the country?
I think it is moving ahead, and whether it's a point of no return or not depends a lot on the outcome of the by-election, on whether she will convince the West that you can lift the sanctions, and that will be her bargaining point. And after that, she would have to be able to convince the government, the army, General Thein Sein, the president, and the rest of the country that this is irreversible, because the door has been opened too wide to shut back in again. Otherwise, Burma could really be plunged into serious trouble if it goes back on its word.
But do you think Myanmar is ready for all these reforms?
Well, I can quote one of the member of the Human Rights Commission of Burma, set up by President Thein Sein. I asked him the same question. I said, you think it is irreversible? Why would Burma change? And is Burma ready for that big change? And he said, we change because we need to change. There is no other option, because they have gone through the so-called 7-step to democracy under General Tan Choi, the former military dictator.
Right.
And they claim that this has nothing to do with pressure from the outside. This has always been the plan. 7-step plan now. That plan has been completed. The next step is to go into full-fledged democracy, which I think, in a way, they know. After this trip, I talked to not only Aung San Suu Kyi, but the 88 generation members who were just released from prison. I also talked to the advisor to the president and officials at the Director General level of the Foreign Office, of the Information Office, of the Culture Ministry, and they all are telling me that this is real and that Burma is serious about it. So I will have to take the word for it, and from what I see, this is the first time that they answer questions from the press. And they are quite open about it, that, you know, the sanctions did have effect on them, and that if they don't move into the reform mode, they will be left behind, will be left so much behind that they will never be able to catch up. Remember, Aung San Suu Kyi said maybe a bit teasingly that in 10 years' time, Burma is going to be in the forefront of ASEAN economy.
Is it possible?
I think she was asked this question by a Singaporean reporter, and she said, why not? Why cannot Burma be in the forefront in 10 years? We need to be ambitious. And I think she's saying all these things not only to the outside world to have confidence in Burma, but also to stir things up within the country that Burma cannot, as she said, cannot proceed in her own sweet time. The train has left the station. So you need to speed things up. So I think all the things we see, all the statements we hear from Aung San Suu Kyi all the way to President Thein Sein as one common feature, and that is Burma cannot look back. The only option is to go ahead, and whatever obstacles, they must confront them.
But will that be just political and social reforms? What about economics reform? Which one seems to be more significant?
I think the economic reform and political reform will go together. And from what I hear from the officials and Aung San Suu Kyi and the advisor to the president, the two will go in parallel. First, we see the political reform, release of political prisoners, new media law, new investment law, new rule of law regulations. At the same time, they're opening up the country for foreign investments. There will be a similar to Thailand's BOI, Board of Investment. They're going to set that up. Investment law is being drafted. New media law, which would, they claim, do away with censorship. Now they still have censorship.
There is censorship, right?
There is still censorship. But they claim that once the law is passed, then censorship will go away. At the moment, the censorship covers 3 areas: news, education, religion. They say that religion and education might go first, censorship. News will come later, but they have promised so much, expectations are so high that I don't think they can go back again. Unless they want to close the country again, and that would be really troublesome.
Okay, the international media are now jumping into Myanmar.
Yes.
But is it easier for them to interview the military personnel in the government?
Not military yet, but in my experience, in the 4 or 5 days I was in Rangoon or Yangon and Naypyidaw, yes, they're talking. The officials are talking, and they're answering questions, tough questions. And we asked them questions that, would have been embarrassing before, and that they would never ever answer questions. I asked the advisor to the president, General Tan Shui is really stepping down. Is he really serious about this? But isn't he, dictating things from behind the scenes?
Many people say that.
Like Deng Xiaoping of China. And you know what he said? He said, no, Tan Shui is no Deng Xiaoping, no Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. He is now retired because he feels that he has accomplished his mission of handing the country over to a more democratic rule. And, tough questions like, what about war crime trials? Would these people be summoned to war crime trials? And we asked the chairman of the Human Rights Commission about this. Well, he said that, we will not take revenge. But the fact that he was answering all these questions means that they are now ready to confront the fact that Burma can no longer be isolated and hide behind a military uniform. So they are talking. Whether you agree with them or not is another thing. But they are answering questions that would have been impossible, unthinkable just 6 months ago.
Okay, talking about the upcoming by-elections, how's this people? Are they enthusiastic, the Burmese people? Very
much so, because this is a by-election. The by-elections have been brought about by the fact that the number of MPs who have been made ministers or have been made political appointees have to leave their MP seat. So these 48 seats are left vacant. So NLD of Aung San Suu Kyi will be contesting. She has been campaigning very hard everywhere, Later, she went up to the north, to the Kachin
state.
In her own constituency, which is near Rangoon, about 30 kilometers from Rangoon, called Komu. Everywhere she goes, she is greeted very warmly, very enthusiastically by the local people. And there was this little obstacle when her party members could not use a local sports stadium to launch a campaign speech. And they complained about it publicly. The government, the election commission, very promptly, in a few hours' time, solved that problem, allowing them to go and campaign. So you see the real dynamics of at least the effort to show that Burma is really on the road to democracy.
Okay. How is the situation? When was your last visit to Myanmar?
12 years ago.
12 years ago?
Yes, I told Aung San Suu Kyi that, you know, I interviewed you 12 years ago, and since then I've been banned from entering Burma.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been on the blacklist of the Burmese embassy here. I applied for a visa, there's never, ever any approval. So you know what Aung San Suu Kyi told me? He said, that's good credentials for you. The fact that you have been blacklisted is good credentials. So she was joking, of course. But, you know, 12 years ago I was there, and today, totally different. Physically, you know, new buildings, traffic jams. Can you imagine Yangon having traffic jams?
Wow.
Yes. But politically, yes. I talked to journalists, I talked to activists, talked to opposition people, and talked to government people. The fact that we could go from Yangon to Naypyidaw without being stopped, without being checked, with the cameras, TV cameras and everything, shows that they have to live up to the promise that they will let people talk about Burma, interview people, and get the real picture for the first time.
Okay, one last question. Do you think that Aung San Suu Kyi is still the hope toward democracy from Myanmar, especially the ethnic minorities?
Yes, I think she is the hope, because she knows that she has to prove not only to the outside world, but especially the local people, the Burmese, and particularly the ethnic groups, because they are a bit skeptical. They want Aung San Suu Kyi to really show that she means what she says, that she will get all the ethnic groups together with the central government, the Burmans, you know, the main central authority, together and form a real sort of federation of Burma, so that the minorities will have equal rights. So I think she knows that on her shoulders the burden is very heavy, and she cannot let those people who have high expectations of her be disappointed. And I think she knows that she has to work very hard, and she shows it. She's working very hard. No time left at all from one meeting to another, from one campaign to another. So I think she's 66 now, don't forget.
Right.
But she still seems strong, and she told me that she's doing meditation so that her health can be maintained. So she looks good, and we all hope that she will succeed in convincing the military that there is no return to dictatorship.
All right, thank you for joining our program today. ขอบคุณค่ะ
Most welcome. Thank you.